Hey everybody, it's your boy Nova Jade. Today we are going to make some skincare. The first process in formulating skincare is actually sanitizing our equipment. So today the equipment that we are going to use right now that we're going to wash is the beaker. We also have a little spinner in here. This is a ceramic spinner that we use for our magnetic spinner. We'll talk about in a little while. We got ceramic bowls. This is to weigh ingredients in that we're going to use in our formulating. Okay, so I got a few different bowls. And then I also have this glass plate. This glass plate fits right over the beaker, so that way whenever we're formulating, no dust or anything gets inside. A good practice for washing, in my opinion, is using Dawn dish soap, the blue Dawn dish soap, with borax. Alright, the borax is going to soften up the water, which helps activate the soap a little bit more. And if you have any kind of residue or residual for maybe previous formulating on here, it'll get that right off, and it'll help the soap clean any grease or anything else that you might have on there from just sitting in storage. So we're going to wash everything that we're going to use today. So now that I got my dishes washed, I need to dry them. So what we dry them with is lint-free cloths. All right, Chemtech, this is a standard brand that you see in laboratories. You see it in chemistry labs in school, biology labs. You see it in hospitals and other places where you need a sterile cloth that's lint-free. Okay, because you don't want to cross-contaminate anything. You don't want to add any lint or anything, so you get the right stuff. So what I'm going to do, get some 70% alcohol. This is a laboratory standard for sanitizing, 70%. And I'm going to grab my beaker. I'm just going to put some alcohol in there. Okay, I got my lint-free cloth, and I'm going to saturate 70% alcohol all through the inside and outside of this beaker. Okay. At Nova Jade Cosmetics, I use a Corning brand magnetic hot plate combo spinner. Okay, so this acts as a hot plate, so a heating source, but I can also apply kinetic energy by having a magnetic spinner in here. So underneath the surface of this hot plate, there's something that spins and it attracts this spinner as a magnet. So this will be sitting inside of our beaker once they're done drying from the sanitation process. And speaking of sanitation, since we're using this also has to be wiped down with 70% alcohol. The next thing that I need to do is I need to rinse my beakers out with distilled water, okay? Because I'm going to be compounding inside these beakers. The first main ingredient that we're going to put in there is distilled water anyway, so we want to go ahead and pour just a little, just eyeball how much you stick in there. I would say maybe about a cup full. Or if you want to go all the way up to the first line, you can. But how I do it, you want to get your beaker and just kind of spin it until the distilled water comes out little by little. You make a couple of rotations, and now this is rinsed with distilled water to where we can start using it in compounding. Alright, so we're starting to formulate now, okay? So the first ingredient that I put in here is distilled water, okay? We don't use water from the sink, that's not pure water. So distilled water is purified water, that is the standard to use when you're formulating, so that is what we're using, alright? So the first thing that we want to do, we want to measure our distilled water by the gram. We weigh everything by the gram. That way we can get the correct dosages, okay? So once we weigh it by the gram and we know we have enough water in there, I want to mark a little line on there. That way I know how much water was in there at the correct weight. And the reason why I do that is because we're going to add heat on this and we're going to bring it up to a boil to sanitize the water. There's going to be evaporation burn off, okay? So I want to add a little bit more water in there after I initially weigh the water, mark a little line. I want to add a little bit more on there. And as everything's heating up and it's boiling, I just want to make sure that it doesn't go below that original line that I started with. Or that way I know I got the close to the approximate weight that I'm going to need. So right here we have our hot plate magnetic spinner combo, which is manufactured by Corning. On here they have a heating element you can control just like the knob on your stove. And we also have a spinner inside of there. So right here there's another knob and you can watch the water. You see there's a little spinner in there, it's spinning. Okay, now watch the vortex. You're going to see as I increase the speed of this spinner, it's going to start looking like a little water tornado in there. You'll also start hearing this get kind of a little jingly. So it's coming off balance. You need to pay attention to that sound, because if it gets too jingly, especially as we add more ingredients in and the viscosity gets thicker, it's gonna not be able to spin as fast under those viscosities and lose its balance. It might slam into the side of this. So I'm gonna just demonstrate that just so you can see it. Notice the vortex, our little Texas tornado in there is growing. Alright, so it was going pretty fast. I didn't want to go too far or whatever and slam in there and break my beaker, but I think for most of y'all who've used a magnetic spinner on a hot plate, you'll kind of understand. So once we have our temperature, that's correct temperature where we know this is boiling water, it's hot, it's sanitized, then we're going to take the heat off, okay? The reason why we're going to take the heat off is because every other ingredient that goes into Cosmos is heat sensitive, okay? So there's a safe range of temperature that each ingredient can handle, all right? There's a threshold, so there's usually a lower threshold to where if a ingredient gets too cold, it could lose its active properties in there, okay? It might not be as effective. Same with it getting too hot. If some of these ingredients get too hot, they could lose their effectiveness or can just completely burn out of the water through evaporation. So once we get our water to a stabilized boil, we know that it's sanitary, turn the heat off, and then we're going to gauge our temperatures as they lower, okay? Now, if you were to want to ask, what's a safe temperature for me to put my cosmetics in? First, every ingredient is going to be different, okay? They're going to be different. They all have MSDS, now called SDS, safety data sheets on there. It has all the information on there. But if you wanted just a basic range that you're probably going to see several times if you are into this kind of business, is 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you go above 104 degrees Fahrenheit, essential oils, different types of peptides, some of y'all might know them as growth factors, other active ingredients in anti-aging skincare can get burned off if you go above that. Potentially it could weaken. So we want to make sure after we boil it, we're going to bring our temperatures down below 104 degrees Fahrenheit before we add in our next ingredient. Now we're ready to add our first ingredient, which is pantothenic acid. All right, this is the powder form of vitamin B5. So let's go ahead and just add it in. I'm going to take our cover off like this, and we can just throw this right in. We want to make sure we kind of have the bowl down in there because it's going to dust up. And we can turn our magnetic spinner on low. Now look how cloudy this is, and watch what happens. Vitamin B5 in a powder form has a pretty high heat threshold or whatever, but I let this cool off or whatever. That way we keep everything intact and don't burn anything off that we need to have an active, effective formula. So you notice that this is starting to clear up. So the longer this spins, I can see it spun too fast. So it started going around the side. That's what I was talking about earlier. But yeah, as you add things in, it's going to get a thicker viscosity. So you'll notice as the vitamin B5 compounds into the water and dilutes, it's going to become more crystal clear. Okay, this is a very cloudy solution a moment ago. So as this dilutes, we're going to raise our spinning speed just a little bit higher at a time. Alright, so I want to make sure if I start hearing any jingling from the spinner onto the glass, I want to slow it down just a little bit under that. Starting to jingle. Got a nice little tornado in here. Okay, so I'm going to let this sit and spin for about 2 hours. Okay, and 2 hours should bring this temperature down even further to where I can start adding in my next ingredients. We're going to put in some of our thickening agent. Okay, our thickening agent is part of the emulsification process also, so it's an emulsifier. And we're only going to put in a little bit at a time, okay? Now, this is where Handcrafted comes into play versus having a commercial laboratory that has like everything mechanically sharing everything in a very quick time and stuff. This right here is going to spin for several hours to dissolve that, and you notice the viscosity is getting thick, so it's throwing our little spinner off balance. So we got to make sure we just keep that on the lowest setting the whole time and keep an eye on this. Alright, so it's going to require a lot of patience. This is going to take several hours. So once this first stage of our thickener that we stuck in dissolves, I'm going to start adding in other ingredients in here because everything should be cooled off to a very safe temperature for everything to thrive in. Okay, and then we're not going to apply any more heat. We're just going to use kinetic energy from spinning this with a magnet. Okay, from start to finish through the entire formulation process. Okay, so because of that, this is going to take about 2.5, almost 3 days to manufacture by just spinning, okay? And I know some people might think that's crazy, but when you take the time and patience to do it this way rather than just running it through a commercial machine that's just going to shred everything up and heat it up real fast and process it, this is actually going to give you a more high quality product. Okay, it'll take a little bit longer. There's a lot more hands-on steps and a lot of more tedious attention to details to pull this off, but this will be a much higher quality product than what you're going to get out of any commercial machine. I promise you that.
Hello esteemed spa owners and managers. I'm Dr. Jade, and today I want to introduce you to a game changer for post-laser procedure recovery. If there's one product that's going to enhance your laser burn recovery treatments, it's Cosmos Revitalizing Skin Serum by Nova Jade Cosmetics. The mastermind behind this innovation personally tested its magic. After undergoing a laser tattoo removal, Nova Jade exclusively used Cosmos on the laser burn. The result? A fully healed skin surface in just 4 days. Now, let's talk science. Matrixyl 3000 is the star peptide ingredient here. It's renowned for stimulating collagen production, essential for skin repair and rejuvenation. And then there's vitamin B5, a powerhouse that ensures deep hydration and tissue repair. But that's not all. With 4 types of hyaluronic acid, this serum ensures optimal skin hydration, promoting faster healing and that coveted youthful glow. To all the spa professionals aiming for excellence, this is your golden ticket. Incorporate Cosmos into your post-laser treatments and watch as your clients become loyal advocates, returning time and time again. Visit www.novajadecosmetics.com and buy yours today. And remember, put on a happy face.